Hello, welcome to From Caracas. I'm Laura Prada, and in this opportunity, From Caracas is talking with Amauri Chamorro, who is a communicator, an international analyst, and with whom we'll be talking about the recent news coming out in the world respect the Julian Assange imprisonment after being 7 years in Ecuador's embassy in London, and also about political communication and data usage by WikiLeaks and other media. Welcome, Amauri.
How are you?
Mucho gusto. Welcome to From Caracas.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here.
We'd like to know how this Julian Assange imprisonment after being 7 years in Ecuador's embassy in London. Why is this happening now, and which is the interest behind all of this?
It must be analyzed from the logic of the Ecuadorian government, of the American government, of England. In a general way, the countries that needed to silence the voice of Julian Assange. The Ecuadorian government is currently fulfilling an economic agreement with the US. A few weeks ago, Lenín Moreno received a $10 billion loan from the IMF that begins to be negotiated from the meeting with Manafort, moderator of Donald Trump, who is currently in prison, and the Vice President of the United States Republic, who visited Ecuador in order to negotiate the terms of the delivery of Julian Assange. Lenín Moreno, among many things, also called for the economic support, since the model of economic implementation of the Ecuadorian government at this time requires an external financing in the sense not only for the public investment, but to maintain the Ecuadorian state, as neoliberalism affects both the economy and the country at this time. For the United States, it is a kind of example that gives the world to people who want to be independent and who want to have their own voice and who are not willing to see themselves through the optic of American cultural production. Julian Assange has fulfilled the role as the reinventor of the communication, and as well as when Gutenberg participated in the birth of the printing press. That means that not only it is going to talk about our reality from the big companies of communication, and a common citizen can, through the networks, show the world what is happening. That's obviously very dangerous. Imagine a billion Julian Assange around the world. How difficult it will be for the United States, for the film industry, entertainment, for Netflix, for Facebook, to have different people who are willing to gamble their lives to tell the truth around the world about what's going on and why things are happening this way. What Assange did was just to uncover that the United Kingdom is also complying with the agreements with the United States. We know that the United Kingdom is America's main ally in Europe. It has just complied with a legal process that always has a legal disguise. Not all this sort of thing, but let's say it is the fact of invading the embassy of Ecuador, kidnapping an Ecuadorian citizen, still asking with the apology that they were complying with the law. It is these three roles that basically meet, and it is for that that you have to understand what has happened to Julian Assange and what is happening in the world.
Assange's citizenship wasn't revoked, and his political asylum in the embassy, neither. Why then the police takes him out of the embassy? How is that possible?
Well, it is possible. First, because President Lenín Moreno is willing to destroy the Ecuadorian sovereignty. We have to understand what is the level of president that Lenín Moreno has been for the country. It is a worldwide disgrace for a president to allow security forces to invade his embassy and kidnap a political asylee who is Ecuadorian. He is a compatriot of Lenín Moreno. He is a compatriot He is a compatriot of mine, a compatriot of millions of people. Assange has international rights that were violated at the time of being kidnapped by United Kingdom security forces and was also covered by the Ecuadorian Constitution because at the time there was no process to remove the asylum or cancel his citizenship. This is very serious. And what I want is for the international community and the world to understand that Assange is an Ecuadorian who has the status of asylee, who was kidnapped by the security forces of England within an embassy and authorized by the Republic of Ecuador. It is an extremely serious situation from a juridical standpoint, but politically and historically it is a great shame. Ecuador is such a small country, a country with no military power, with an economy so affected during years of neoliberalism that at the time of the citizen revolution, its sovereignty decides to give asylum to a persecuted politician of the United States. It is a demonstration of what it was, the new country, and at this moment we see the president gravely accusing, and I say gravely because there are very serious accusations of corruption of him, his family, his children, his brothers, his daughters, his wife, who have business doing money laundering to receive money from corruption and take this kind of attitude, destroying the image of the country that was so well known and respected. A country that was invisible begins to be respected from the presidency of Korea and now so affected by the war. It is very serious to understand what has happened, and we have not only to understand what is happening, but we have to wait to see what will happen in international courts, because this can lead to Lenin Moreno and the Ecuadorian state are affected by the issue of a crime that big of some magnitude.
Recently, we've seen these letters from the United Kingdom's government saying that they're not in the position to extradite Assange because he's in danger of being under death penalty. Why is the United Kingdom pronouncing like in that way, and how must the international community react to this?
First, you cannot trust them, right? England and the United Kingdom are hypocrites. It is a country that has acted in a hypocrite way over the last centuries. A government that allowed the flight of Pinochet, a murderer, genocidal dictator who murdered European citizens, that England had the obligation to stop it and deliver him to the Spanish justice, where he was required, and simply allowed him to leave. How are we going to believe that a country that respects its own law? Because really, in the United Kingdom, the legislation does not allow someone to be extradited to a country that can be applied the capital punishment. But who has the guarantee that the country invading the Falklands, their historical way of acting during the Iraq War in Afghanistan, what they have done in Africa, was going to believe in the UK? So it is very important that not only the work of Julian Assange, that only the act at the moment, but the civil society, the work in a general way, and the press should act. Assange colleagues should act in a specific way in support him because they know he's a political persecutor. What are they trying to do? What is the information matrix of the United States? I mean, he's not a reporter, he's a hacker, a spy. Because if they accuse him of spying and hacking, he loses the supposed protection of the United States Amendment on the subject of the freedom of expression. Then, at this time, he disputes not alone the judicial defense, is not the account on his act to promote the world and to show the crimes of the humanity of the United States and even of the United Kingdom. Because we remember that was a real ally in the invasion of Iraq was the United Kingdom, was a great complaint, and through the video is known as collateral effect, which is when filmed with the camera of the same helicopter of the United States Army, civil massacres, even kills two Reuters journalists, and until this day no one has paid criminally for that. then it is important to understand this role of Assange, knowing that he is a single man with a computer that disputes against the most important military empire in the history of mankind. Because what he has discovered, the way the empire acts, how it has violated the laws, international authorities including its own constitution to massacre citizens around the world. That is the function of Julian Assange. That's why he's done for the planet, and that's what he's going to face. Will be this legislation in England? Will be that the United Kingdom in an angry way of freedom of expression, of justice? Will they rely to that? I really don't think so.
Now that you talk about this, after Julian Assange imprisonment, it was released the authorization to publish new data by WikiLeaks that they had their archive, they made it public. But also in these few days afterwards, Anonymous throw a threat, if we can say it, upon United States and United Kingdom. How is that possible? Why taking new information now? Why is it important? Is that a threat? Is that a way of saying, well, I have the information, but I also, if I have the information, I have the power also?
Of course. It is interesting to see how the information being used in favor of the citizenship. The truth is a threat to the empire. It's a construction in reverse. As a citizen, with a group of militants, has the capacity to put in the corner the United States, the United Kingdom, to France, to all the countries, to the big companies at world level that in some way they act also bribing or act in favor of that American diplomacy that in some ways destabilize governments for their economic benefits or their companies. And in that, Assange worked properly. It's the way to defend yourself in some way. I do not think that he only has this information. Probably have much more information. Who knows, the future begins to reveal these issues. I was able to navigate many of the links of the information they have published, and it's really sensitive information that will touch several countries. And even yesterday in Colombia, a scandal was revealed that shows that Fajardo, ex-president, who was remained in the third place in the last presidential elections in Colombia, he in 2009 had agreed with Uribe never to confront him. He was a sort of ally, but not an obvious ally, was a secret ally of Uribe. And we know that if Fajardo had supported, and that it was in a certain tendency, that he was a supposedly central candidate, he would have explicitly supported Gustavo Petro. Gustavo Petro probably would have been the president of the Republic, and not Iván Duque, who is a candidate for Uribe, that modified the internal geopolitics of Colombia, and that is one of the many examples of WikiLeaks. Thus presented, and this will generate a queue of political issues from now on.
Is that the reason why they criminalize Assange and WikiLeaks? Because of they put out this information, but why not to criminalize also Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg?
Not only that, why hasn't CNN been criminalized for the murder of 1 million Iraqis? The invasion of the Iraq war generated 1 million dead, innocent civilians, men, women, children, the elderly. This invasion was absolutely approved and promoted and defended, justified by the big communication companies of the Western world. It was found that there were no weapons of mass destruction. There are the videos and photos of the tortures and atrocities committed by the American soldiers. There is the same video of WikiLeaks showing the massacre of this helicopter. Nobody is going to pay for that. And the only man, and it's interesting, they changed the reality. They built the history to defend the invasion because supposedly the Secretary of State looked at the proximity between their press relationship with the U.S. government justified the invasion of Iraq.
But then has Assange revolutionized communication?
Of course. Why? It is a private company that defends the interests of the economic powers that are the dreams of the American state. They are the owners of the President of the Republic. Trump has owners, as well as he had Bush, as well as Obama. They respond to the owners, who are the economic capital of the United States, who are the owners of entertainment companies and military companies. These people created a falsehood, a lie to show that there is a weapon of mass destruction in order to invade Iraq. The media that tell that lie, they never sent a reporter to check what they said. Look, here are 5 anthrax factories in Baghdad. They never sent anyone to investigate whether it was true or not. Hassan Hussein opened was Champagne, where great American opinion formers said that it is a lie. The media did not care that they were killed, bombed. Now nobody pays for that. Now Julian Assange comes out to show in the video how the criminal American diplomacy in the world acted, and he is the one who is imprisoned and is probably condemned to death. This is the truth about how the world works. That's what we need to understand. So when you're going to vote in a presidential election, one must understand what one sees on television about one candidate or the other. It's built from that same logic. What is the effect of Bolsonaro? The same effect on Trump. That is the same effect Duque in Colombia. The same effect of Piñera in Chile. They are the constructions of candidates that respond to that logic, that do not tell the truth, and are protected by the media. That's why people like Julian Assange are a threat.
But that threat that they represent also has changed the way in which we understand today communication and political communication as well. How all this transformation reflects on media, on communication itself.
So influential, the media creates a perception of reality. Reality doesn't exist. The reality is a cultural construction, the construction of mass media. For it to really change, it must change from the process of training people, societies. Communication companies must act responsibly. But how to ask for responsibility to a company that makes money by lying or decontextualizing? Because it's not just their political work, it is not only their job to defend the economic powers, but that lie also serves as a product that you sell, where I have utilities. How to change that logic? Julian Assange changed the logic in the sense of proving that journalism can be done without relying on these great means. If you can tell the truth to these people, there's a price. And we need to pay it. We need to pay it. He has been practically in a prison for 7 years. That was the Embassy of Ecuador because he could not leave. Then he becomes alone, never letting Moreno. First, he left him isolated, without contact with the world, for 8 months to see if he broke emotionally and was his own behalf of the Embassy of Ecuador. That's the price. And now he's probably extradited to the United States for defending the truth. He did not kill anyone, did not generate death. He barely alerted the world of what was suspected. The world was able to prove it, which he always suspected. That's the price he's paying for being honest and doing really a journalistic job. We cannot believe that private communication companies do a journalistic job. They don't do journalism. There's not such a thing. There's no way that they do it because the system is created for an economic group to earn money and defend their interests. And who operates that? Communication companies. That's the big threat. That's what has changed. That's the impetus of Julian Assange, that civil society. people who realize what's going on. I don't think that's happening because it's how to fight Netflix, how to fight Facebook. People who see on their timeline information, you do not know. The vast majority, 99% of those people who access Facebook do not know that information put by someone. What you see in social networks, in Google, is not what you want to see, it's what they allow you to see. That Julian Assange has been alerting for years. Those militants of truth have already alerted the world. Society and general consumer user of what internet, social networks, what you see on TV cable, or what you see on Netflix, does not have that criteria, do not really know that there is a political attitude behind the production of content. Another example, Netflix has just taken less than a year ago a television series that is called The Mechanism, that is to try to give an air of truthfulness to the fact that Lula is currently detained, and it is not true. It is the American cultural industry that finances the production of a series to say that that is true, that Lula was corrupt. And we know that is a lie. Why? We know that there is not a single proof against President Lula. This capacity for critical analysis of the analysis, of verifying this, that is maybe true. It is very difficult to verify today because the whole process of building this reality, society depends on companies that determine what one sees, and he cannot see, then you build a reality. Even when you receive by WhatsApp a message for your family, for your cousin, from a friend, sharing yourself, the link of video, we know that it is activated, that's not spontaneous. That's because someone put that video paid millions of dollars to make an activation via WhatsApp for people to receive that information. And you say that your relative, your friend is sending information because he wants, but he wants also influence it. So it's much more harder. Today the perception of this training is much more on the ground. And what did Julian Assange do? Raise and expose all that.
Then we can say that in this case, communication makes politics, or politics makes communication?
Communication is a tool of domination. It's a tool that can be used for good or evil. Communication itself, it is not the end of political process. The politics defines the communication. Who defines politics? Two main sectors. Those who want to put the world down due to interests of a little group of people who are the owners of the world capital, or the civil society, what is willing to fight and defend itself of that economic power, that is not willing to give up. Then the world ends up divided in two. In that sense, if we talk in that perspective, then this form here are not willing to give up, face the mechanism that keeps them down. For example, the mass media, communication companies, and that's where Julian Assange steps up and somehow turns the world upside down.
Thank you, Amauri. Gracias.
A pleasure being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us in From Caracas. Today we spoke with Amauri Chamorro, who is a communicator and international analyst, and we've been speaking about communication, about Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, and information brought to the public and to the world for them to know better what happens in the world today. Continue with TeleSur. Thank you again, Amauri.
Gracias.